And now I have the pleasure of introducing our next presentation by Linda O'Sullivan and Roisin O'Grady. And they are going to talk about a case study in cultivating a coaching and mentoring culture.
Good morning, everybody. You can all hear me, and I'm not shouting or blowing people's ears off. My name is Linda O'Sullivan. As Tina said, I'm an academic project lead with the Teaching and Learning Unit in Munster Technological University, and my colleague.
Hi, I'm Roisin O'Grady. I'm Student Engagement Officer in the Student Engagement Office in Munster Technological University. So myself and Linda work closely together.
Exactly. So this morning, what we're setting out to do here is basically, hopefully by the end of this hour, right, you'll have an understanding of the concepts and principles of coaching and mentoring and the benefits of this approach in higher education. So I'm getting the sense this morning from the previous speaker, Kalia, was saying that some people in the room are familiar with coaching and mentoring, but some of you may not. Then we're going to, through looking at the MTU case study, we're going to look at the journey that MTU went on and discuss some of the challenges we faced and the strategies that we undertook for implementing a coaching and mentoring culture. And then the other piece is you're not going to sit there and just listen. You're going to actually get engaged. You're actually going to do a bit of coaching yourselves, okay? So you're going to have to engage.
You can't leave now, Agnes.
Okay. So first off, just a question for the room. Who here is familiar with coaching and mentoring concepts and principles? So if you're familiar with coaching and mentoring concepts and principles, raise your hand. Okay, we're saying about, there's a few people here, yes. So you're just going to have to bear with us while we do a quick coaching and mentoring piece, but we'll do that in a moment. So I'm going to hand over to you, Roisin.
Okay, so we're going to start with a nice, gentle introductory exercise just to ease you into the session. So have a look on the screen there and you'll see lots of pictures, or they're called our Jess cards. And we want you to pick one that resonates with you. So take a minute to pick one that resonates with you. So think about, what is it about that picture that made you pick that picture? What are you thinking about? What's the memory that it evokes as you pick that picture? Okay, so now I want you to pair up, hopefully with somebody that you don't know. Okay? Okay. Now, what you're going to do is introduce yourself, tell them your name, what university you're from, the picture you chose, and why you chose that picture over the next 2 minutes. So, with your partner. Yep.
So I'll put the pictures back up. Okay, so.
Okay. So now that you have had a chance to identify the picture and talk about that, I want you to talk about or discuss in your pairs, how do you feel about this as a way of introducing yourself? Did you find it useful? Did it work? So have a chat there for 2 minutes. So can we just get some feedback from maybe just 2 people in the room? How did you feel that exercise went? Even words? Yes.
Amazingly, we are already best friends.
Fantastic. The star pupils. Anyone else? Just one more. Yeah.
It was an excellent practice as an icebreaker because
Yes.
we didn't focus on ourselves. We focused on the photos, and it was really interesting to get to know Maria that way.
Yes, yeah. That's very good. And why do you think coaches would use something like imagery in a coaching session? Why would you think that they would use something like this as an icebreaker? Yeah?
Well, I suppose what you see is kind of bringing up much more input than what you hear and read. But think if this would be online. So then my colleague here was saying that she had, she's a counselor as well,
Yes.
as business teachers. And she had this like a ice warm-up. So she put the students in teams, small groups, and they were discussing some topics. And what else?
Yes, they were discussing topics and then try to find something similar within that group that connected them all. So that was a good way to get to know one another.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good way for a coach or to connect the individual to what it is that they're trying to achieve. And it hands over the control to the individual, the coachee, because they're the people that are controlling that conversation. So congratulations, you just completed the first coaching and mentoring tool of today's session. So now handing you over back to Linda.
Which way are we going now? Yeah, this way. So just for those who haven't experienced or coaching and mentoring before, just comparing the two, or three, really. So most of us come here as teachers to a certain extent, and I suppose this could be a contentious definition, but a lot of the time teaching is considered to be instruction and knowledge transfer. Whereas if you look at mentoring is giving guidance based on past experience, and then coaching is empowering the individual to develop their own solutions. So if you think of it as, if a student was trying to learn to ride a bike, a teacher might tell them, well, how the bike works, the pedals, the gears, how to maintain your balance, things like that, the how-tos, right? The mentor might tell the student about their own personal experience. So when I started, I was taught on a beach. So if I fell off, soft landing, things like that. Or don't ever go down a hill and pull the front brakes because you'll go out over the handlebars, things like that, okay? So that's what a mentor does. Whereas a coach will stop and they won't say, don't do this, do the other thing. They'll say, well, what did that feel like? So when you fell off, what did that feel like? Where was your body? What was your position at that stage? What do you think made you fall off the bike? And then it allows the learner to figure out what actually works and what doesn't work, okay? So if we look quickly then, here we just have kind of a comparison between the three, teaching, mentoring and coaching. So as I said, again, contentious maybe. Teaching looks at our focuses on knowledge transfer. Mentoring focuses on career or personal development. You're empowering the individual or you're guiding the person. And coaching then focuses on personal growth and unlocking the person's potential. So in a teaching scenario, the instructor is considered the expert or the sage on the stage. The mentor is the experienced guide, and the coachee, in the coaching scenario, the coachee is the expert in their own experience or in their own journey. For a teacher, they answer questions. For a mentor, they share their wisdom. And in a coaching scenario, you've got the coach asking powerful questions of the learner. With teaching, we're following a set curriculum. We have content that we have to cover. We have concepts that we have to cover. We're on a journey, and we need to get them there. With a mentoring approach, we're sharing, as I said, our wisdom. Oh no, sorry, I'm on the wrong path. We're following a set curriculum. Sorry, in mentoring, it's relationship driven. You're building a relationship of trust with the actual mentee, and it's informal. And in coaching, then you're looking at goal-focused, structured conversations as such. In a teaching scenario, we try to provide instruction and we try to provide feedback. We don't always get it right. Sometimes it can wait till the end of the module, as Kalia said earlier this morning. Sometimes we do it formatively throughout the journey. In a mentoring scenario, you're offering advice and you're offering support. But in a coaching scenario, you're facilitating self-discovery and problem solving. So you're allowing the coachee to arrive at their own solution. You're not telling them what it is. So 3 examples there. In a teaching scenario, a lecturer could be explaining assessment criteria. That's teaching. In mentoring, you could have a senior academic guiding a junior faculty member. In coaching, a coach just could help an academic reflect on work-life balance. It can be anything, right? It mightn't necessarily be academic related, okay? So hopefully that explains the difference between teaching, mentoring and coaching. But they're all interrelated in one sense, in the sense that in each one of those scenarios, be it the teacher, be it the mentor, be it the coach, the aim is to help the person to learn something. So in terms of higher education then, that's fine. You're kind of saying, okay, where does this all fit in? What we're saying is the key benefits of coaching and mentoring are that they enhance self-awareness and leadership skills. So therefore, they're enabling personal growth of the coachee or the mentee. Coaching and mentoring can improve team efficiency and dynamics within a classroom and within an organisation. And there's also kind of a cultural impact in the sense that I think, Yanis, I think you mentioned it before, right? That supportive environment. What we're doing there is we're trying to help people to learn. So people can't learn if they feel they're in an environment where they're being set up for failure from the start, right? They need to feel supported in their journey. So what we're saying then is that coaching and mentoring, it can drive individual and organisational performance. It enables us to set clearer goals, and it allows us to build community within our teaching environments. And it's essential for developing a coaching culture that enhances learning and professional development. So that's fine, that's setting the scenario. So let's see, well, why are we here? Why, as MTU, why are we talking about coaching and mentoring? So I'm just going to take you on a small bit of a journey. So first off, anybody that's here that doesn't know anything about MTU, so we are one of 5 technological universities that have been established in Ireland. So we were founded on the 1st of January 2021. And as a result of that, we are a multi-campus institute as such, spread across 6 campuses in the Cork and Kerry region. So if you're not familiar with the geography of Ireland, we're down here, right? This is Cork, this is Kerry. Dublin is the capital of Ireland. So you can see volume-wise or area-wise here, Dublin is quite small. So people from Cork would generally say Cork is the real capital, right? So we're down here and this is the region, this is our area, these are the students we're looking after. Sorry? Exactly, Agnes, that's it. No, there are other people in this room that are also Irish and they're from other places. So we've got a Limerick woman here and we've got, where's Offaly gone? There we are. We've got an Offaly woman as well, but really, if you're from, oh sorry, we've got a Donegal woman as well here, right? So we have, I was going to say, basically I'm from Cork, so Cork, and Agnes is from Cork, so Cork is the real cultural capital really as such. So as I said, 6 campuses across Cork and Kerry. We have approximately 18,000 students. We have over 140 courses and programs. We have over 2,000 staff. We have 6 research centres of excellence, and we have 100 plus clubs and societies across our organisation. So I think we're kind of similar to a lot of people here in the room. You know, that's it. We're dealing with students from various areas. We're dealing with large teaching staff, etc. So it's difficult to affect change. So that's kind of giving you the idea. So as I said, I'm here then just to tell you about our journey in terms of coaching and mentoring and where it all started. So our journey is a 10-year journey. So we're going to be here for a while talking about this. Right. So I'll try and skim through it very, very quickly. So our journey began back in 2015, 2016. And we began looking really at staff because Maurice, who sits there in the back of the room, you'll always hear her say, you can't do student engagement without staff engagement. You've got to get your staff on board first. And where do you need to get staff on board? You've got to get them on board when they come into the university as such, right? They have to feel comfortable. They have to feel like they belong too. Just as much as it's important for students to belong, staff need to feel that they belong. So if you've ever been in a scenario where you started a new job and you've just been told, here's your desk, here's your laptop, and off you go, that's not really an environment that's conducive to empowering the individual to succeed. So in MTU, we piloted a staff induction mentoring program back in 2015, 2016, where we trained mentors, staff mentors as such, to mentor new colleagues. We moved on from that in 2017 and 2017-18, and we have a Master's in Teaching and Learning program for staff within our university. And in that program, it was going under a review phase at that stage. And in that time, we put in a module on that program, a 10-credit module on that program for mentoring in higher education. So that was a significant stage there. That was us valuing the importance of mentoring and a mentoring approach in higher education. At the same time then, not alone focusing on staff, we moved our focus to students. And at that point, we introduced our academic success coaching program. So this was a coaching program for students, and students could basically come to our academic learning centre and they could engage with an academic success coach. So that student is going there not to say, oh, I don't understand, or I'm not very good at algebra. Well, they could be coming there to talk about algebra, but it could be more, I don't feel like I belong, or I can't get on top of my studies. What can I do? Things like that. So that was a pilot program that we started in 2017 and 2018. So these are really, really small steps to begin with. Then we moved on from that in 2018 and 2019, and we needed to formalise our approach a bit more. So we had our staff induction mentoring programme where we trained staff to be mentors and things like that. And what we decided at that stage was we wanted actually to develop coaching skills among staff. So we introduced this coaching in higher education programme. And this coaching in higher education programme we had accredited with the European Mentoring and Coaching Council. And it basically, any staff member who engages in this programme can receive a foundation level cert in coaching that's accredited by EMCC. Also at that stage we began looking for funding from our National Forum for the Enhancement of Teaching and Learning in Ireland, and we ran a number of seminars, coaching and mentoring seminars, and those seminars were light bulb moments for a lot of staff, including myself, in terms of how coaching and a coaching approach could be beneficial to staff members. So I remember sitting in a room at one stage at one of these seminars and saying, oh my God, that's it. That's exactly what I need. I hated those scenarios where I was supervising projects and I had students who were sitting in front of me saying, I don't know what to do. And I'm, and feeling like it was my job to find a solution for them, but it wasn't really. The solution was in themselves. I couldn't tell them what to do. They needed to find it for themselves, really. They actually had the ability to do so. So for me, that was my light bulb moment back then. And as part of all that, we could see that we were on a journey as such, but we needed to ensure that we were benchmarking our journey, right? We needed to develop that as such and ensure that we were aligned with good practice, really, as such. So we began. So EMCC, the European Mentoring and Coaching Council, have this international standard for mentoring and coaching programs, award program as such. So we decided, okay, as we move forward here, we need to benchmark ourselves and we need to make sure that we're following good practice. So we began this application process for this bronze award to try and align our systems and our processes. So in 2019 and 2020, our academic success program went from that pilot way back here to a stage where it was actually awarded an Irish Education Student Engagement and Communication Award, so that we got national recognition within our own university. We continued to offer coaching and mentoring seminars through our National Forum National Seminar Series. And in 2019 and 2020, we were successful in securing €350,000 in funding from the Higher Education Authority in Ireland, based on performance funding for work that was being carried out by the Unsha Office that Roisin is representing here today, and their work and their programmes, where we were trying to enact the vision of coaching and the vision of coaching culture across staff and student life cycles. Then we introduced a few other different programmes as well for postgraduates, and a wellness and resilience module was also developed. Then in 2020, 2021, we were all affected by this COVID hit. And when COVID hit, we were in crisis, students were in crisis, they were experiencing college in a completely different way, and we had to still continue teaching. So because we'd laid the foundation way back here, we were able to react quite quickly. And we put in place this REACH academic mentoring programme, where we supported over 8,000, or we had 80 staff members trained as REACH academic mentors, and we supported over 3,500 students over that 2-year period as such. So it was just knowing that there were staff members there that students actually could tap into to voice their concerns about where they were right now, how difficult the journey was through COVID. That actual REACH academic mentoring initiative went on to win an award again at the Irish Education Awards. And at that stage, in the middle of all that, we had reached the end of our application for the Bronze Award, and we were actually awarded the EMCC ISMCP Bronze Award, being the first university in Europe to receive that award back in 2020-21, okay, benchmarking our processes. Because of that work that was put in, we went on then in 2021 and 2022, and we actually won a further 1 million in performance funding from the Higher Education Authority. And this was awarded, and this award basically helped us to move forward and do a piece on leadership development as such. And then having followed, actually, I was in the wrong place. We submitted back here. We achieved our award here. So when we achieved the EMCC Bronze Award as such, when you do the award, you're given recommendations and feedback. And one of those pieces of feedback that we got was this piece here that we'd started way back here needed to be redesigned and re-envisaged. So at that point, we started to redesign and redevelop our staff induction mentoring program. We gave it a name called Integrate, and we started looking at the processes that existed within that program and to try and bring those up to best practice levels. Another piece that came out of that activity was we created a coaching and mentoring hub within our university to host all of our coaching and mentoring related resources. In 2022 and 2023, then to continue developing that coaching and mentoring culture, we put in place a workshop or a seminar series on being a better coach and mentor to develop the coaching skills for staff. So it was the ongoing professional development. And then we also, in that phase, we started on a journey to go to the EMCC ISMCP Gold Award. So we went from bronze. We were going to go for silver, but when we spoke to EMCC at the time, they said, look, what you're doing here might actually be eligible for a gold award. So we set our goal then towards going for the gold award as such. So we began preparing an application for that at that stage. So through the million in performance funding here that we received back in 2021 and 2022, it allowed us to focus on leadership development. So then at that stage, we developed a Lead at MTU program for senior management staff, again, developing their coaching and mentoring skills. So as you can see, we started down here in a really, really small pilot phase, working with staff, working with students. And by the time we got to here, we were now looking kind of at trying to embed it within our university completely. So that million euros that we received here enabled the Lead at MTU program for the senior management team to begin. And within that then, we also, our senior management team were also trained as peer mentors. And at the same time then, we had an Elevate leadership development program, and that was to develop the leadership skills of people who are in non-leadership or not management roles. There were non-management roles to help them to develop their leadership skills, because the reality is, at the end of the day here, every one of us has leadership built into us. We just need to voice it from time to time. And lastly then, our last piece of our journey, last year we implemented a professional diploma in coaching. So basically people who had originally started out on the coaching and higher education program could now move and become a professional coach as such. So that was another piece that we have put in place. And we also have a mentoring using a coaching approach for leaders program that has been delivered. And at the end of last year, we submitted our Gold Award application, and we're waiting on the results of that eagerly at this moment in time. But the signs look good at this moment, is all I can say. So what are our key outcomes and achievements? Well, so far, if you remember, I said MTU has approximately 2,000 staff. Over 300 staff within the university so far have engaged in the coaching and higher education program. So they've actually taken the program. They may not have gone the full stage to get the foundation certs, but they're aware of coaching and mentoring principles. As I said, again, when we were looking at our journey, the Reach Academic Mentoring Initiative was something we were able to put in place very, very quickly at the time of the COVID crisis. So as I said, 80 mentors supporting 3,500 staff, enhancing student engagement. We have got professional development and accreditation by getting the Bronze Award, and as I said, we're awaiting the outcome of the Gold Award process. And over 200 staff as part of that Elevate program that I mentioned previously for non-management staff. As part of that, over 200 staff have completed psychometric assessments and coaching. We have gained national and institutional recognition through the Irish Education Awards for Student Engagement and Communications and the COVID-19 Response Award. And overall, we have got 1.35 million performance funding from the HEA, the Higher Education Authority in Ireland, for our coaching and mentoring innovation. And then in terms of leadership development and organisational impact, we've got the Lead at MTU programme and the Elevate Leadership programme. So the Lead programme has trained over 50 plus of our senior leaders in leadership skills, or developing their leadership skills. And our coaching approaches are used to drive institutional strategy and cultural change. So I don't think I was going to say, or will I, Roisin, will I? I will, maybe. If this is going to play. We'll see. Yeah. So just in terms of impact on staff, this is a program, or this is a brief
The Teaching
video.
and Learning Unit have been over the last number of years developing a coaching and mentoring culture, using coaching and mentoring skills to engage with our students and to talk about engaged student learning. We have coaching skills training programs at foundation level.
The course itself has the Global Quality Award from the European Mentoring and Coaching Council. This course is designed for educators in higher education, tutors, support person, etc. And it's a wonderful way to put some structure on skills that I'm sure you already have and probably are already using. We spread the content over 5 weeks and we look at some really good coaching tools that can be applied to any different situation, like the Grow the Wheel. We also cover a little bit around well-being coaching and resilience coaching, and at least 2 sessions are based on strengths coaching, and this is definitely something that you can use in your role with anyone.
I was really intrigued by the idea of coaching in higher education, so I'm always looking for new and different innovative ways to engage with my students.
I just wanted to do this course in order to better equip myself to be able to help students and deal with the issues that students have.
I just found the concept, very interesting.
I think empowering them to answer their own questions and to reach goals themselves is actually a really good thing.
You get those tools and techniques that you can actually move forward.
Empowering people to see their problem in a different light. I want to hear more of what the student's story is so that they can shape their own potential solution.
It worked really well, and I think the students actually performed a lot better from session to session, and they achieved goals faster.
To give the students the tools to be able to come up with the solutions themselves.
If you listen to a person who's reaching out to you and focus on that when they're talking, you're in a much better position to help them and advise them.
Yes, of course, I would recommend it.
Absolutely, 100%.
Absolutely. Both from a professional and also from a personal point of view, I found the course to be extremely helpful.
Yes, I would really recommend this course. I loved this course.
The Teaching and Learning Unit are great. Thank you very much for providing this course.
Okay. So that's just some feedback from staff on the coaching in higher education. Sorry for putting you through the first part of it, but it was difficult to pick out the piece on staff. So also then we've kind of some testimonials here from students in terms of the impact it had on them. So academic success coaching, what did it feel like? So I came away from sessions ready to embrace the challenge. I learned more about how I ticked and how to best approach my studying as a result, with the help of worksheets and tackling and talking to my coach. I booked a few sessions before the exams and I felt more secure in myself with my approach to studying. So things like that. So it empowered the student as such. And then in terms of the Reach Academic Mentoring Initiative, again, we have feedback here from the mentors who engaged in it and also the mentees. Okay, so again, it meant some of the time the mentees said, it was just knowing that someone was there that I could talk to. Okay, so it broke down barriers as such and kind of leveled the playing field. So I suppose, what are the key lessons that we've learned from our coaching and mentoring journey? So first off, coaching and mentoring needs to be intentional. So structured mentoring works better than informal mentoring. So before we started on this piece, we're not saying mentoring didn't happen within MTU, it did, but people weren't trained. There wasn't, that structured training wasn't in place. Now it is. Secondly, there needs to be a multi-level approach to have impact. So you can't just gear it at students, you can't just gear it at staff, you can't just gear it at the leadership end of the scale. You have to look across the board. Basically, coaching and mentoring drives engagement, retention and success. So targeted interventions reduce dropout and increase engagement. So if we save one student through coaching and mentoring, then that's a good thing. It requires institutional commitment. So there has to be buy-in from leadership, funding and accreditation makes it sustainable. So we were enabled to do a lot of this work, I suppose, by getting funding, performance funding from the HEA, from winning national awards, from leadership buy-in within our institution to support us. And also I think then it was really beneficial to engage in the EMCC, ISMCP accreditation process, because we knew what we were doing actually made sense, it stacked up, and we were following best practice. We now realise at the end of all that this thinking, developing this thinking environment boosts effectiveness. So it encourages that active listening in the first part, and reflection. Again, I think, Kalia, you mentioned that earlier. Reflection is so important in learning. Continuous professional development is key. So people need opportunities to regularly engage in their development of their coaching and mentoring skills. So they can get that initial training, but there needs to be something there like a coaching and mentoring resource hub like we have already. There needs to be continual opportunities to engage in continuous professional development throughout your coaching and mentoring journey. And data and recognition builds sustainability. So tracking impact ensures long-term success and funding. So you need to be doing coaching and mentoring, but at the same time you need to be collecting data and tracking how it's going and looking for areas that you can improve, etc. And in that way, you garner long-term success and you attract funding. So that's enough of me. And the journey was long, but we got there. Now, over to you, Roisin.
Thanks, Linda. And now it's for a bit of work for the next 20 minutes. What we're going to do is a hybrid coaching activity where we're going to look at those JESS cards and to explore our strengths, actually, and then apply the GROW model, which is a coaching model, and then put those strengths into action, into an action plan. So I'll just take that from you, Linda. Thank you. Right. Oh, hold on now. Okay, so have a look at those JESS cards again. Pick 6. Pick 6 cards. Yes, a lot of thinking, but it'll be worth it. Lunch is on its way. So individually, pick 6 cards that resonate with you, and remember to note the numbers alongside them. So for the next couple of minutes, we'll do that. Okay. Right, next step. Now, have a look. The words or the cards that you picked, we're flipping them over, and each card has a word. And I want you to write down those words that reflect the 6 that you picked.
Okay, hold on a second. I think we have handouts here.
Yeah. 22 is good communicator. That's you, Kalia. Okay, moving on. Next step. Right, this is the activity. So, out of those 6 words, pick 3 that represent strengths that you use frequently. Three words that represent what you use frequently of those 6 that you picked. Next, pick 3 words that represent strengths that you could use more. Three of the 6, this 6 out of the 6. Yeah. So we're getting more specific. And lastly, which one strength would you like to work on using more? 1. Okay. So hold that thought for a second. And we're going to look at the GROW model. Any of you heard of the GROW coaching model before? Yeah, about 3 people in the room have heard about it. So GROW is a widely used coaching tool that coaches use in coaching conversations, be it with any individual, student, coachee. And what goals or GROW stands for is goal, reality, options, and way forward. So we'll start with looking at the goal. The first thing that a coach will do is to define your goal. What is it that you want to achieve? And goals can be short-term in terms of developing a skill, or it can be longer-term in terms of career advancement. But the key thing about a goal is to try and make sure it's specific, because this gives direction and clarity in the coaching process. Once you establish your goal, questions to ask is, what does that goal look like? Do you have anything in mind? These are the type of questions on the right that a coach would ask in that space. Then move on to reality. Where are you now? So finding out where that coachee is right now. And what that helps to do is understand for an individual what things, what challenges that might impede their progress, and also what resources that they have currently that might help them. Once you have established your goal and the reality, then you move on to options. So what are the options there? And brainstorming them with the coachee. So things like, can you see any opportunities? What obstacles do you currently have? And this is also useful in determining the way forward. Once the options are explored, then you move on to the way forward. And this piece is really around accountability, setting an action plan. What is it that you're going to do? When are you going to do it? And what will that look like? So very often, the GROW model provides a coach in the coaching conversation with a framework to use. And it can be very helpful and very effective. And even in the simplest form with students, what we often do is say to them, well, right, okay, if you're traveling, everyone is traveling these days. Okay, your goal is your destination. The reality is where you are now. Where are you leaving from? Your options are, what are the different routes that you can take? And then the way forward is a path. What is the first step that you're going to take to do that? So that's why we use the GROW model a lot in MTU. So now, what we're going to do is, using the strength that you have explored, we're going to use the GROW model, to apply and put those insights into action. So over the next 10 minutes, in your pairs, I want you to identify who's the coach. Don't all jump at once now, because you'll get a chance to be the coach and coachee. But just chat among yourselves just for a couple of minutes, or just for a minute, who's going to be the coach, and then we'll move on. And then we'll bring you through the system, the model. Okay, so hands up, who's going to be the coach? Hands up, all the coaches. Yeah, all the coaches, okay. So, your goal as a coach is to help the coachee create a strengths-based action plan. Sounds very fancy, but actually, using the GROW model, it can, it can be simple. So, your instructions are using some of these coaching techniques or coaching questions are useful in helping you to establish with your coachee what it is that they want to work on. So questions you can ask are, well, what is the strength that you would like to work on today, the one that you've picked out? What would you, using this strength more, how would you, or what would using this strength look like more effectively for you? Then moving on to, how often do you use it now? What holds you back? Then moving on to options. How could you apply this strength in a week ahead? What are the different ways that you can approach it? And then moving on to the way forward, take what is the one specific action you'll commit to and when will you do it? So use the strength that you picked, apply this coaching grow model to bring the coachee through what it is that their action plan. After 4 minutes, then we'll swap over. We're just conscious that lunch is on its way. So just before we wrap up on this, can you just, in pairs, just think about and talk among yourselves about what is it that you felt worked well and what did you find challenging about that process? Okay, conscious of time, would anyone like to share what it is, just to the wider group, how they found that, either as a coach or coachee? Any takers? Some of you may be experiencing this for the first time, so it'd be interesting to hear what it is that you think about that, honestly. You know, did it work well? Could you see it you've been used in a coaching session? Could you use it in your own context? What was challenging about that? Were you kind of jumping in, trying to give advice as opposed to holding back? Down there, yes? Yeah.
So I was a fresh lab rat. I have never done this before.
Yeah.
It was both a very interesting experience and extremely weird one. I'm not saying this as a criticism.
Yeah.
Sometimes weird is a good thing. But what I was just discussing here is that what I found most interesting is that with each question, I, as the student, let's say, the one being coached, I know where I am, I know the road I'm taking, and I know it is my choice. So there is at no point an input that was going to contradict what I was saying. I was going to contradict myself to realize if something was going in the wrong direction, if I had to change something. So it is both taking the term we use in science education is the intrinsic thoughts, the background noise in your mind, getting it in front and realizing where you are. And if you make a change, it was your choice and you did it. It is the most, how do you say it in English, non-intrusive model I have seen or experienced in educational environment. The teacher is simply asking questions. The student, it's up to the student to answer them truly and work on them. You never push them in one direction. You just let them be and have an understanding of where they are and where they are going to go, if they want. So yes, it was very interesting. And because the student is the only one that takes, has agency, it is weird. For it is in a direct contrast with every experience we have in an educational system. It's weird. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. That's a good summary, actually, to be honest. Anyone else have something similar or a different experience?
So this was fun. One of the things we discussed a little bit is the starting point. So in this exercise, we have these strengths,
Yes.
and that's fine. But in many cases, that might not really be an issue that you want to work on. So it kind of depends a lot about where you start with. So what's a typical in your, when you do this professionally at your university, what's the discussion points? What's typical topics? Is it based on these strengths or is it something else? Because it seems like the strengths was fun, but also kind of limiting. So could you tell us a little bit about the typical things that you actually discuss in a
Well, I think this is working. Well, I think in terms of, I suppose, where students would interact with this type of model, and I'm not saying it's the only model that's used within the university, it would be kind of, we'd say, in the academic success coaching program. So you could have students coming, you know, they're coming to you, and it's the starting point of like, well, why are you here today, kind of thing. And it can start with, I feel I don't fit in. I'm finding it hard to make friends. I'm trying to, wasn't say, I'm getting behind in my studies. I can't, you know, or I'm really anxious. I have a presentation coming up. You know, they're coming in, they're telling you what the problem is. So a lot of coaching is about listening in the first place. And we know ourselves that sometimes we're not very good listeners. Sometimes we're trying to jump in, well, you need to do this, you need to go here, you need to do that. You have to listen to the student, or you have to listen, and it's not just a student, a person. So Yanis, as you were saying back then, you know, it's almost like parenting to a certain extent. If any of you have children, you'll tell them, do this, eat this, go here, go there. They won't do it if it doesn't align with what they actually want, right? So you have to sit with the student, you have to listen to them, understand, reflect back what it is you're hearing from them. So it could be, they might be telling you a story and it goes all over the place. And you're from listening to them, you're reflecting back what it is you're hearing. So I hear you're finding it difficult to get organised. You're struggling to stay on top of your studies. Would that be the case? And they'll say, yes, that's it in a nutshell, right? And then the conversation goes from there. So the reason, even though we did the cards to begin with, what we were trying to do was incorporate 2 coaching tools that you can actually take away. It won't always be strengths-based, right? It could be a situation where a student comes in and they say, oh my God, you know, I just feel I'm not good at anything. I'm useless, right? You could start from a place with your strengths cards. Well, there are certain things, everybody has these strengths. It's just different ones come to the fore at different points in time. So that would be for that type of scenario. But the GROW model can be used across the board. So it's not, as I say, it's not just with students, it can be used with colleagues, where you have someone who comes in to the staff room who you can see is extremely stressed or, you know, whatever. And you can just use that approach. Like it's a model that you're using in the back of your head. It seems very formulaic when we put the questions there on screen, but it's a starting point. You're starting with, well, what's your goal? Okay, where are you right now? What are the options? What are the options that are going to work for you? Not the options that I'm going to tell you, right? What are the options that you would actually consider? So, Callie, you did that at the start. What are you hearing here now that you'd never do, kind of thing? There's no point in exploring that option, right? What actually would resound with you, and start from there. And okay, if that's the thing that you want to do, and these are your options, which one seems the most likely that you're going to follow? And okay, let's put in place an action plan to get there. And that's the only way it's going to work. You cannot tell people what to do. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And that's the point. That's the whole point of coaching and mentoring.
And I think this, I suppose, exercise is really in terms of wrapping this up, but it's really about bringing coaching conversations into our daily lives, whether that be our professional life or our personal life. Sorry, Agnes.
I found for myself, it's actually a life skill, because there's one thing I always remember. It's teaching you to listen, to understand, and not to answer. Because a lot of us, when in a conversation, we're just waiting to give our answer or waiting to say something, instead of actually listening to understand what the person is saying to you across your life. So it could be with your friends. Particularly, I find with your children, like my children are grown, so I'm fine that way. But sometimes our kids can come to us in the morning when we're rushing out the door to say something to us. But because we're rushing out the door, it's just a case of, yeah, it's fine, go, we have to get to work. So it's to take the time to actually listen to what's being said to understand it. And particularly with our students, they come to you and they might say something at the beginning, but if you actually listen to them and delve into it, it's something completely different that they're actually saying to you. So that's what I found fantastic about the GROW model and the coaching course. Not just for specific things, but just everyday life.
And that's something that would be reflected back on many people. Like many people go attend the coaching and higher education course thinking, oh, yeah, it's just about dealing with students. It's not. It's about you, and it's about how you listen to people in the first place, and not try to give the answers. Work with the person. Sorry.
I'm also a climbing instructor, a climbing coach, and so in sports, this is really straightforward. It's not only about listening, in my opinion. I mean, some of my athletes, they are younger, they have climbed less time than me, but they're more skilled than me, and still I have to teach them something. So this teaches you as a coach to be able to do the right questions, to listen, watch also in the case of sports. And it's really hard in a context like the university teaching to be able to annul yourself in the sense that your skill don't matter. If your coachee is better than you, it's okay. So you don't have to show anything. And when you are a professor in a class, this is something that it's ambiguous, becomes ambiguous and becomes really hard to do. In sports, it's easier because it's easier to be just the coach, not showing off talents. But when you are the professor, it becomes really harder, and it becomes harder to be able to do the right questions, the right observations, and to listen, of course. But it's really hard to do that. So what was challenging for me, and is challenging for me as a coach, is to be able to not care about my skills, but only about the athlete, the student's skill. As the coachee, it's hard to, and I've seen also this now in this example, it's hard to put yourself in discussion, to open yourself, to directly tell and spot what is going wrong. It's really hard.
Okay, and on a final note, on our journey here yesterday, thanks very much for that actually, and it reminds me, on our journey here yesterday, I heard of this magical Finnish word that I think it's unique to Finland as far as I know, and it's called sisu, and it means never give up. I think, is that right? Okay, so I think that's the key thing really here as we're in Finland, and in our work in teaching, learning and student engagement, just remember sisu.
And I just before we finish there, I'll just, in case, if anything here resonates with you and you want to talk to us about it later, there are some QR codes there on the handouts that we gave. So as I said, I work in the Teaching and Learning Unit. Roisin works in Anseo, the Student Engagement Office in MTU. Come back to us at any time if you want to discuss about coaching and higher education programme, academic success coaching, any of that kind of stuff, right? Come and talk to us, or we'll be around anyway for the next few days, but you've contact information there. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much.